Okay, thank you. Exploring proven means of wealth creation and management. So two aspects, creating wealth and also to manage it for sustainability. So there are some spiritual and mental thoughts on money we want to quickly explore before we drill down to what we want to cover today. So there are some facts here. Your job may help pay your bills, but does not guarantee financial freedom. So, from experience, from your own experience as well, you know, it doesn't matter how much somebody earns, how much you make from your job, if you continue just on the job alone, you might be rich, but you may not be wealthy. You may not have that financial freedom. And when we talk about financial freedom, it's not really that, oh, I don't have any more debt. It's actually you having enough time for yourself to manage other aspects of your life. But if you keep on doing the normal 9 to 5, you say that you are just in the right race. Then another thing we want to look at here is our current life, wherever we are in life, is as a result of our past thoughts about ourselves and our creator. Some people believe that as a black man in this country, there are limits. You cannot go beyond, that your color, your pigmentation, your accent, has placed some limit on you. And that's why Bible says, first, he thinketh in his heart, so he is. So all this journey to wealth, to prosperity, actually start from our mindset, our thought process, how we see life, how we react to life, how we connect to opportunities around us. Then another aspect is spirituality, being a Christian, being righteous, being holy, having the best of education, even becoming a PhD holder, or your geography, you migrated from Africa to this place. And also you are the type, you are given into hard work, you are into maybe 3 to 4 employments at the same time without what we call LUCK, nothing guarantees financial freedom. And this lock here actually means laboring under correct knowledge, knowing when to take step, knowing when to invest, knowing when to take risk, especially calculated risk, and knowing when to position yourselves for opportunities around. So just keeping it to I'm a Christian, just keeping it to I'm highly educated, just keeping it to I've left Africa, I'm now in the UK, and just keeping it to I'm a hard worker, without these ingredients, financial freedom may not be guaranteed. Then another thing here is we need to remember that financial freedom is not about money, but about the quality of your life and the time available to you to do the things which are important to you. That time you want to have to yourself, to go to your children's school, to attend their graduation. That time you want to have, when people go to work, you want to go to town center to preach the gospel. That is when, you will start appreciating financial freedom. Then just like so many people, have a negative uh, perspective about money, but we need to understand that money may not be the most important thing in life, but it affects everything that is important for living. For example, health. Many people squander their health in search of wealth. And later on in the evening of their life, they start squandering the wealth to regain their health. Also, marriages, many marriages have fallen apart, not because there was no love, not because the marriage was not ordained by God, but due to financial pressure. And also it affects our education. Maybe some people want to go higher than where they are, but because there is no money to support that, that place some kind of limitation. Also food, many people struggle because they don't have enough financial resources, to put food on the table. Despite the prayer, despite the fasting, eating alone is a limitation. The same with clothing and housing. So money, we agree, may not be the most important thing in life, but it affects everything that is important for living. So we want to look at the poverty circle of the average man. So the average man, is the one that wakes up in the morning, goes to work, does 9 to 5, at the end of the month or at the end of the week or at the end of the day, he gets paid. Then he spends the money on grocery, on paying rent, paying other bills. At the end of the month, the account is zero, and the account is minus, is in red. Then they have to start living on credit card, living on overdraft, living on personal loan, and they repeat the cycle. They've been working for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. They are approaching retirement. They are still in this cycle. So if you see yourself here, it means that you are in the rat race. It's not a bad place to be, but it's a bad place to be for too long. And that's why we want to explore other means, how we can create wealth, how we can sustain ourselves. So the question is, what can I do to be wealthy? Number one, we need to understand to be wealthy is the will of God. It's never the will of God for us to live in poverty. It's never the will of God for us to live and die as Lazarus in the Bible. It's the will of God for us to live like Abraham. He was wealthy. He served God. So that perspective that wealth is a deviation from your calling is not true. And we want to see what can we do to be wealthy. Number one, just like we said, you can be wealthy by earning, and that earning is you knowing when to exit and to kind of go into the next level. And also we can earn money by generating income from other things we do. Also, we can be wealthy by keeping or saving, not just saving for emergency or not just saving for rainy days, but saving, in preparation for possible business opportunities. How can we be wealthy? By leveraging or investing. You have to invest somewhere before you can now get some return. You have to be risk-taking, but calculated one before you know the best way to invest. You can also make money through protecting or insuring your assets and also exiting and passing on. Because of time, we don't want to look at this last two. We just want to look at the low-hanging fruits, what everyone that is keen to do something new today can walk away from here and start doing. And I pray that we will not just listen, the Lord will help us to, put all this into practice. Now, if you look at this cash flow quadrant, it shows the steps we go through in life, to get from where we want to get from where we are to where we want to be. Just like they say, to move from zero to becoming a hero, to move from nobody to becoming somebody. Everything depends on what we want to achieve in life. Look at the first quadrant. This is the employee. I believe that if not all of us, many of us started here, and I can guarantee you that out of majority of us that started here, 90% of people are still here. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good place to be. But it can only make you rich, but it can't make you wealthy. There are two different things in this aspect. You know, you can earn fat salary and fat bonus, lavish it on luxury. You still repeat that cycle. If anything hits your employer, you are in trouble. If the economy shakes and affects the company, you are in trouble. Then we see the next quadrant here, self-employed. You own your own business. You run your own business. All your time is invested in your own business. At least you're breaking away from the first quadrant to the second one. But the only limitation here is if you're sick, you can't work. If you don't work, you can't earn. That is the danger. So this is where you see all these handymen, people that have logistic vehicle, they drive, they make money, they deliver, they make money. If they don't work, nobody to cover them, there is problem. Now we go to the third quadrant, business owners. So here we say that your income does not depend on your own active work. People work for you, people work with you. Just imagine you have some properties. Your tenants, when you are sleeping at home or when you are on holiday, your tenants are working hard just to make sure they pay your rent. Maybe you have a logistic company, you have drivers, you have you have delivery drivers. They are working to generate money for you, and you invested in other aspects. People are working. You have become an employer of resources. People are working, and you are making the money. And we say the fourth quadrant, your money works for you, but we are not going to look much at this today. This is where you go into stocks and bond and all those related kind of investment. But what we are looking at is even how we can go from point 1 to point 3 today. And I pray the Lord will give us the grace to be doers as we explore all this in Jesus' name. Now, what is the most important resource to start a business? If I throw this question open now, if not 100 of us will say what you need first is money, but you don't really need money to start a business. There are things available to you. If you make good use of it, you can start turning it to, the things that will make money for you. Just imagine time, If you imagine the time you spend on social media, time you spend on, maybe doing other stuff, maybe time you spend on watching football. Those are not, there's nothing bad with all those, but the time available to you, how do you use it? If you see yourself towards like £1,000 an hour, how would you use your time? So that's why everything begins with mindset. All of us, we have got time to make research. We have got time to go for mentoring classes. We have got time to shadow people to understand how they make money from business, but we are not channeling the time in the right way. We've got various skill sets. Some people can sing, but they're limited to singing. Some people can preach, but they're limited to preaching. But there are things you can do outside of that. Our skill sets, all God has given to us, is not to be used for a single purpose. It's not to confine not to a place. Some people can write message, can preach 3 points. That is telling you can also be a writer. There are many audience on Amazon waiting for your book to arrive there. So we must think holistically. There is something all of us have access to. personal computer, internet. What do? We go to social media, we go to Facebook, we go to WhatsApp. Some people can spend hours there. Internet is available. Unlike Africa, you put on your data, you switch it on when you don't need it. But here, it is available. Whether you put it on or not, you pay the fees amount. Mentoring. We have people even in the body of Christ that are available to mentor us. We have big apartments. It's not just only to live there. We can turn all this, to wealth generating machine. We have car as well. Car is not just for luxury. Car is not just for going to church. So these are the basic things we actually need. And if you ask everybody here, if they don't have all, at least they have one of these to make a start. So want to look at business. Because of my time, I will go very quickly. Moderator, please, if when I have 10 minutes left, let me know so that I can see how fast I can cover the things I want to do. So business opportunities that you can run with nothing up to the amount of £5,000. I know if you need £5,000, there are ways you can get that, to make a start. Let's look at digital business. I talked of having access to laptop, to personal computer. I talked about having access to internet. That alone, if you have discipline to make research, there are plethora of opportunities in this space. Like now, right from the time of COVID, people have cultivated a habit of doing shopping online, even to the point of ordering milk online. I have a neighbor opposite me. Every midnight, they come to deliver milk at his doorstep. I will have a shop that is just 5 minutes walk. So it's just telling you how the world is coming together into this single digital hub. And as this opportunity arises, we also need to see how we can step in to leverage all the possibilities in that space. That's what they call drop shipping. I don't know whether we have heard of it or some of us have heard of it. So it simply means you becoming an interface between a customer and a supplier of products. For example, if you go to Amazon, all the items you see on Amazon, they are not advertised directly by that company. It is an individual who has signed a contract with that supplier that I want to sell your product on this platform. For every item I sell, I have maybe 1 up to 5% of that product. And if you study marketing carefully, you tend to buy things slightly higher in Amazon than you going to the shop. Many people don't know that. So these people come here. You don't need a physical store. You don't need to pay for storage or whatever. You don't need to stock anything. So once you sign up the deal with a supplier, you have access to their stock system. You know how many products they have. So you can advertise that online. So once a customer buys and the transaction gets to their end and the product gets to the customer, automatically you have your commission. This is what millions of people are doing. They don't step out of their house. They only have access to their laptop. They have access to internet. If you need information on this, I am happy to provide. In addition to this, also, if you want to buy like from this China, you can go to Alibaba.com. You can make research about different suppliers. Whether you want to sell shoes, you want to sell clothing, you want to sell devices, whatever you want to sell, any type of accessory you want to sell, you sign up a deal with a particular supplier. They will first of all send you the sample for you to test in the market where you are. Once you're happy, you say that you can break even or the margin is okay, then you start off the business. If you need to get a storage somewhere, or if you have storage in your house, you can start a business. You start selling maybe on Amazon. You can start selling on eBay. You can start selling on any e-commerce platform. So there is a link here, for you to explore. And also you can just Google dropshipping.com. If you need more information in this, I'm more than happy to provide. Most of us, we go to eBay. We buy a lot of things on eBay. And this is another great platform for you to start trading. Now, if you study shops like Tesco, Asda, Morrison, Sainsbury, all these big shops, whenever they are bringing a new product to their shelf, they normally sell it at 50% discount to attract buyers, for people to sample it, to kind of, get connected to that product. They just introduce it 50%. So you can now buy those products in large quantity and keep, and you watch out. When those products goes back to 100%, you can now take yours to 80% on eBay, and you can start selling. People know the product, so they know the difference. People know how to compare prices. I have a friend that's into this. This is just the only thing he does. He goes through all these shops. He goes to all the shops to know every month, every shop they bring out new product. He takes advantage of that. So it's something that is worth looking into as well. That's what we call freelancing, So this we appeal to our younger adults or some professionals in our midst. And this is just the practice of offering service to clients on a contract or project basis. So what this means is that you have these skill sets, you have this work experience, but you don't want to work with any company, whether on permanent or contract basis. You don't just want to get tied to any company. You rather want to provide a service on a pay-as-you-go basis. It could be website design, it could be project documentation, it could be test scripts. You want to provide that service on, and you can connect. You can register on Upwork.com, Fiverr.com, Freelancer.com. In fact, when I was in uni, I was doing this business, and it's very, very lucrative. I have so many people, whilst they are waiting for COS or work permit to come, they are into this space. As someone I pushed into this space 6 months ago, that's what the lady is doing. So it is worth looking into. Now we have content creation. It's all over the place. Everything on Facebook, if you click, the number of viewers the person gets, the more money the person generates. And we Christians, do you know that you can actually be preaching, or teaching side of scripture, you're uploading it on Facebook. People are getting saved and you are making money. So this is a good platform, to sell what we have. That's why I said, all we have, all we do in the body of Christ, those skills, those talents God has given to us, we must not confine it there. And I pray the Lord will help us in Jesus' name. Then let's look at using your own or available resources. We'll just touch on one because of time. And that is what most of us have or familiar with, your car. Turn your car to a wealth generating vehicle. If you have a car and you are crying that you don't have money to pay your rent, you don't have money to pay your bill, it means that you are not actually looking at the potential of what you have. I don't know how many of us that have heard of Amazon Flex. So the link is here. Amazon Flex is, you can do delivery for Amazon with your car, any type of car. And it's so flexible that you can choose how you want to deliver. You can say, I want to take the slot of maybe 10 to 12. That's all I want to do. I want to take the slot of maybe when I'm coming back from work, I want to do delivery till I get home. You choose the routes and the time. You just go to their warehouse, they load your vehicle, and after work, you can now driving backward and be doing the delivery. You can choose to say, I want to use my 1 hour lunch time to do delivery. They will give. It's so flexible, you know. There was somebody, a student, even when he did not have the visa, whatever, I told him to go into this. And he was making about 50 pounds comfortably every night when he drives for 4 hours. He chose like 4 to 8. That's what he does. So there are opportunities with your car. You can turn it to a taxi, although there are some restriction here in terms of the age, the mileage, and things like that. And there are some special type of insurance you need to obtain. So if you need more information here, I'm more than happy to help. This is Uber as well. You don't need to change the color. You don't need to put any sign. You don't need to change anything, as long as it's under 5 years, and it's comfortable, it's clean, you can keep it clean and all those stuff. Again, you can choose what kind of, service you want to provide. Is it just airport shuttle? You just put it there. So when someone wants any drop off at the airport, you get the alert. I have a neighbor, that's what he does. The people that go to airports as early as 5, he makes himself available. So he takes them to the airport and comes back and uses the car to do school runs and uses the car to go to work. So there are plethora of opportunity with using your car. You can also choose to be a driving instructor. If you drive, you have driven for a long time, it means that you're a good driver. So don't just keep it just to keep it yourself on the road. Try to see how to transfer that knowledge to people. The only thing you need here is to do approved driving instructor part 1 and part 2 and part 3. You register with DVSA to become approved driving instructor. And the beauty of it is you can install the double control in your car. You don't need to buy another car. So when you want to do your training, that can be installed. And when you want to use your car for something else, that can be taken out, the same car. So we need to, explore this very well. Now, generally, our skill sets, our knowledge, our work experience, we can leverage them to start business. Now, that place you're working, they say you are good, they kept you there, they promoted you there. It does not mean that you have to stay there forever. There's a way you need to transfer that skill to a business. For example, if you're a healthcare assistant, you can set up a care recruitment agency. With the experience you have there, you can set up a care home. Like I'm not even into healthcare assistant, I'm into IT, but about 5 years ago, I was able to do some research. I set up a care recruitment agency twice. The ultimate thing you need here is what they call the CQC license. And if you're good with paperwork, you put everything together. Once you get a license, it's easy to approach all these care homes, for you to get clients. Either you want to, go to their care home or you want to provide domiciliary service. You just do that research. You're a teacher. You're very good at what you do. Think about transferring it, to home lesson services. There was a lady I contacted to come and teach one of my children, and she told me that her slot every day for Monday to Saturday is filled up. She cannot help. It's an African lady. She doesn't do any other job. They were still believing God for visa, but she was very, very engaged and busy. So if you're a cleaner, think of setting up a cleaning company. Even if you're not a cleaner, think about the opportunities in this space. to provide these services directly to the organizations. If you see where they are developing a new building or an office space, go there and make inquiry. Even if they say they have companies already, you could tell them that you can match the price, or you can give them 10% discount and all those stuff. They will ask you to submit your quote. Once you submit your quote, you believe God for the rest. If you're a security staff, don't remain there for the rest of your life. Think of setting up security company to provide security services. And if you're an IT consultant as well, think of designing training packages for people, who want to aspire to join your field. I'm an IT consultant and I provide this service a lot. So there are plethora of opportunity using what you have, using your skill set, using your knowledge, using your work experience to make money where you are. And I pray that God will help us to put all this into perspective. I'm cautious of time, so we want to look at real estate investment. This is a bit capital intensive, but it's not that you cannot start thinking of it. By the time we explore various ways you can save up money for this, you see that as long as your mind is connected into it, everything is possible. Now, these are the benefits of investing in real estate. So you see them there. The leverage is one of the few investment vehicles where using the bank money couldn't be easier. It's like you take the bank's money, you invest from the profit, you pay the bank their money, you take your profit. It does not really involve much. All you need to put in there is your deposit, which we will look at as we go. It's a passive income, that you can also see how to maximize, tax, when you have a very good accountant that will do this. We are not talking of tax fraud, but there are so many opportunities. That's why you need to have a good accountant to help you with it. The capital gain is there, and also, it's a hedge against inflation. When you refinance it, you can tie it to maybe 5 years, maybe that period of inflation. That you are not going to pay high or any interest that you are not expecting. Now, we want to just quickly look at property types you can invest in. We'll look at flats. So this is really affordable. If you are looking just to get something quickly, to kind of step into the property business. The item in green are the benefits, and also the items in green are not really disadvantage, but the constraints you need to have in mind. So this is affordable because you want to make money from property business, you go for the interest only option, except you are looking at owning the property maybe after 25 years or so. But if you're really after making money, paying back the lender, this is the option that will guarantee you more cash flow. And also is Airbnb friendly. So either you want to use it for Airbnb, that is fine. We want to, put couples, small family size and professional.
Do you know?
That is also great, depending maybe if it's 2-bedroom flat, if it's 3, 4, it can also support large family, And once you have a steady tenant, it means you have steady cash flow. So now the constraint is that most of the flats, they are leasehold. What that means is that you own the building.
You don't know now. And I'm coming.
Can we mute ourselves, please? Yeah. So it means that leasehold means that you own the house, but you don't own the land. So you are paying for the ground rent.
Please, can we mute ourselves, please, and let people listen?
So it means that you are paying for the ground rent, and it could be as high as £100 or up to 250 or more than that, depending on the value of the house and the location of the house. And another thing is flats may not appeal to all potential tenants. Some tenants, they just want a house, the children can play in the garden, things like that. So now the second option, property type, is houses, maybe 2-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom, and so on. Also, it is affordable depending on the location and depending on how far you want to go to the deposit you want to pay. So it is both Airbnb and family friendly. You can use it for Airbnb, and at the same time, you can rent it to a family, depending on what you want to do. And it comes with potential for house of multiple occupants or flat conversion. For example, if you buy a well-sizable 3-bedroom flat, you can convert them to 5 rooms ensuite. Remember the HMO regulation. At least each room has to be 10 meters square. So if you want information in this space, also that can be provided. Then, if you bought a house, maybe 2-3 story building, and has a good size up to 36 meters square, you can actually use each floor as 1-bedroom flat. And as you do this conversion, the value of the property goes very high. Steady cash flow, capital gain is there, So mostly they are freehold. You own the house and you own the land, No ground rent maintenance, but some houses, now they are coming with this, there's ground rent. So you need to read between the line very well. And another thing you need to bear in mind, if you're thinking of conversion, you need to have planning permission in place for you to do any type of conversion. So another type of house, property type is auction. So this is capital intensive depending on the location. So you could see a house, that the original value is £1 million, but because of the defects and other constraints with the property, it could be selling as low as £500,000. So you still need that amount of capital, And those auctions, they have potential for residential letting, Airbnb, HMO, resale, and all those kind of stuff. So some people into this, they just buy, they refurbish it, renew it, they just sell it, take their money and pay back the bank, And also this have steady cash flow and capital gain. So now, the things we need to beware here is that it's capital intensive, especially depending on the level of defects, it will cost you more. And again, sometimes, they don't disclose all the defects, especially when it has structural, limitations. So you need to get someone that knows about property very well, before you go into this. So this is a typical calculation, For example, if you're buying a property, the value is 150. So in Northampton, where I live, you can get 3-bedroom house for 150. So if you want to go for something like this, and you're paying like 75% loan to value, that is 25% deposit. So it's 37,500. Stamp duty is 7,500. Your legal fee 3,000, maybe minor decoration. So everything is coming to 50 grand. So the same property, you could get a lender that is happy to give you for 20%. So if you run the figure, it means that you need like £42,000. So look at the cash flow calculation for that same building. I took this figure, like say it's a Northampton. That house can go up to between 1,002 and 1,004. If you are letting it out to a family. So now that amount you pay like 400 on interest only. Assuming it is you are letting it for 1,2, you are making cash flow of £800. And if it goes higher, you can make cash flow of up to £1,000. So things to put into consideration. I will whisk through this quickly. The rent management option. You can choose to manage yourself. If you do this, more cash flow for you. But you need to be ready for risk of default, because some tenants, when they know that there was no stringent vetting, they didn't come through agency, they may want to take advantage of you. Again, it will take your time. They will call, my tap is broken, the light is not working. So these are the things you consider. Option 2, you give it to estate agent, peace of mind, but you're going to pay up to 12% agency fee. And with this, you are seldomly involved. They take care of the repairs and everything. Option 3, you can rent to the council. For example, if you live in London and you have property in Leeds or in Sheffield, instead of you troubling yourself, traveling and all those stuff, you can just rent it to the council. The rent is a bit lower than you renting it in option 1 or option 2, but it gives peace of mind. And sometimes if a house is going for 800 rent, depending on the person's universal credit, they will say the person will pay 600 for the person, and the person will be topping on top by 200. So these are all the options. So how do you raise money from real estates? So these are, because of time, I'm going very fast. First of all, build your credit file. You can use your credit card with interest, and you pay interest-free deals. You pay it back, so that builds up your credit scoring. You build up your surplus cash through regular savings and all those stuff. And if you're living in your own home, you can do refinancing. Up to 75% loan to value. You take the excess, instead of going for holiday or buying another car, you can start using it to invest in additional properties. So we want to look at money and debt management, financial intelligence before we round off. And there'll be room for questions. Now, financial freedom, as defined by this Mr. Fuller, is how many days you and your family can survive without anyone working. So financial freedom, it doesn't mean because you have excess cash, maybe 1 million in your bank account. No, financial freedom doesn't mean you are well paid. You will earn like £1,000 a day. It does not. That's not what financial freedom tells you. Now look at the example. It says if you have 5,000 in savings and everyone in your family stops working, you can survive for 5 months without 5,000. It means that you are 5 months rich. That's what it means. How much can you go if you're not working? How much can you go if you're not receiving any income from your job? So the aim of financial freedom is to have all your needs met financially, so that you can have time to do what is important to you. And I believe that COVID period, brought this revelation to many of us. Many people lost their job. How many months did you go without struggling, without calling for help, without calling for emergency and all those stuff? So these are the things we need to put in perspective. Billy Graham, one of the world's best evangelists, he said, if a person gets his attitude towards money straight, it will help straighten out almost every other area in his life. If you get the attitude of money straight, there's no need of, you don't lie to your debtors. You might be economical with the truth, which a Christian should not be. So, but if you get the attitude of money straight, it will help straighten out almost every other area of your life. Now, money management, whatever we receive from job, from business, first of all, we have to honor God, and that is the concept of tithing and offering. And as a Christian, this is our priority. We must honor God. It's a proof of stewardship that what God gives to us, we're able to, honor Him with it. Now, the first thing we do with money is we spend. But if you really want to be financially wise, there's a difference between spending and squandering. We spend on necessities, not on luxury, not on things. Even if you want to buy car, think of car that will hold their value for a very long time. If you want to buy house, think of the location, the quality, the structure of the house that the value can rise as quick as possible. We think of spending on asset, not liability, because something is buy one, buy one, get one free. You have to buy, you don't need it. We need to be wise. And another aspect is budgeting, but we need to be realistic. So you don't budget after spending, and you now, you don't spend whatever you have without budgeting. Some of us will use our car every day, every month. If they ask you how much you spend on fuel, you don't know. Some of us we spend so much on lunch at work instead of taking food to the office. So because we don't have budget for what we want to do, we don't really understand where the leakage is coming from. We have to be financially disciplined. That is the first step to financial freedom. Now we have to save, but not to hoard. Saving should be part of our budget. Do not plan to save after expenses. No, as you have made your list, you pay rent, you need to also say, I am going to save this amount every month. And you are not saving for people to call from Africa, there is funeral. That is not the purpose of that. You're not saving because somebody has a need in Africa. That is not the purpose. You are saving because you are preparing your exit strategy from your 9 to 5 to the place of financial freedom. You need to be invest, but you need to be wise. Calculated risk. Not people bringing all this online trading that do not really align, and they start giving fictitious example that this person invested, made 1 million, and you gather all you have and put in it. You need to, be very calculative when you are investing. Now, debt management. So the major leakage in our financial life are debts incurred through credit card, store card, buy now, pay later, overdraft, car finance, personal loan. So if we understand this, it will help us to know how to use all this going forward. So when you are in debt, there are things you should not do. You should just stop doing them. It's very, very important. Do not borrow more except for debt consolidation or investment only. It's not a time you want to borrow to go for holiday. You want to borrow to buy a new car. It's not the time to borrow to invest in luxury. If you have to borrow more, it will be for debt consolidation, because maybe you want to take advantage of the excess interest you're paying on credit card. Let's say you have 4 credit cards and the value is about 20,000, and the interest on each of them as you're doing your minimum payment is about 1,500 every month. So it will be a good thing if you can get a loan of 20,000 pounds to pay off those credit cards, and hopefully with low interest on that loan, you end up paying maybe 500 pound interest compared to 1,500 you should be paying. Do not settle for minimum payment except things are extremely difficult. If you settle for minimum payment for 5,000 pound debt on your credit card, they say it will take you 25 years to finish paying it. So it's not something you want to consider. You could consider it for the first 6 months to put your life in order, to sort out your finance, but think of a way to pay it off. Make sure you don't miss your regular payment. You don't want to have any footprint on your credit profile. It's going to hurt you by the time you want to start investing. Do not spend on unnecessary holiday. Forget about buy now, pay later. It's not for you. Your focus is you want to get out of debt. So to get out of debt, these are the things you do. You need to understand the depth of your debt. How much are you owing? Many people believe they are in debt, but they don't know how much they are owing. Some people think their debt is only the credit card and the loan they got from the bank. They don't know the overdraft they are spending is a debt. They don't know the money they owe their friend is a debt. You need to understand holistically how much you are owing. Then debt consolidation, which we have talked about, pay less when all debt is on one account. We've talked about this briefly. Then you can do debt arrangements, agreement if things are really, really, really bad, but it's not a permanent place you want to stay. Then you want to consider financial products that will reduce your debt. That's what they call balance transfer. So it means that if you're owing £7,000 on a credit card and the interest you're paying is £500 every month, there's another credit card of 7,000 that is asking you to transfer that debt from the other one. So when you transfer it to that one, they will only charge you 3% handling fee, which will be like maybe £300 or so, and they will lock it for maybe depending
Please,
on
sir,
the
if we
deal.
can start the questions, please.
Okay, 2 minutes, then I'll round off, then can start the question. So you consider the balance transfer option. It helps you lock your debt. Then you do your financial health assessment. You need to understand where the leakage is, whether on your credit card or anything you sign up that you are not using, things like that. And very important, you subscribe to one of these the Experian, Equifax. These two, they're about $14.99 every month. Credit Karma is free. You need to understand how the lender see you. It's not about how you see yourself, whether you're wealthy or not. You think of this: if I need £100,000 loan, can I get it from the lender? So everything depends on what is on your file, and you need to always pay attention on this. So there are so many things to cover. I pray we will cover it. If there are some questions, in the interest of time, we will now switch to question. Thank you. So question time.
Maybe just first one for me. So generally, do you think we can get the slide you've presented, please?
Yes, again, it's something to discuss with the technical team because it was shared with them. So I don't know the plan, but definitely I'm more than happy to share if that is the way out.
All right, thanks.
Okay, brother Olorunfemi.
Yeah, thank you so much for this session. God bless you. So a few things I wanted to ask. First, about the setting up a business or like an agency, say the care recruitment agency, for example. I've heard a few things around this and I've tried to research, but I haven't been able to get a very clear explanation around it. So I was wondering if you're able to give us that. And that's question around visa restrictions. So say you're in a student visa, I've heard you can't like earn because of it, or things like around content creation, just around what restrictions do we have if you're say on a student visa or on a skilled worker visa around a few of this setting up businesses, content creation and things like that. So that's the first one. The second question, which again I'm hoping you'd be able to give some answers to, would be around commercial property. So rather than private or residential property, any sort of words around owning and owning commercial properties. Thank you.
Okay, so when it comes to the care business, number one, do you have experience? Number two, it requires some, kind of funding in place. So now, if you want to run a financial company, a healthcare service, maybe a care agency, number one, the key thing is that CQC license. So with that CQC license, there are so many check boxes. You need to have an office. You need to have statement of purpose. You need to have a clear picture of the location you want to operate. And you need to kind of show that you have some kind of relationship, in that sector. Now, when I told you that I have been in this field for some time, in the past. So we were a couple of friends, that came together. One of us is actually a social worker, that gave us the leverage. So we came with the financial resources and the technical know-how, to run that business. So you need to also make some inquiries in that aspect. That is one. Number two, there are so many franchises out there, so they have all the bespoke service you need, the location, they can get the CQC license and all those stuff. But maybe they could say it's going to be like £50,000 you pay, and the first 6 months or the first 1 year, you need to pay half, and going forward, you need to pay the rest. So you can go on the scale of you doing it from scratch, getting in touch with people that are already in that field, or you consider the franchise option. Now, when it comes to commercial property, what kind of commercial property are you actually referring to?
Not anything specific, to be honest. It was just more thinking. I read things and hear a few things about owning like business property. So say like a warehouse, or just something that it's not people living there. It's more like businesses are using the place. So like a place where businesses can rent rather than people living there, like residential. That's just what I mean.
Yeah, the process is still the same, but it's just that, you need to understand commercial properties are, the value are quite high, and also depending on your deposit, not many lenders are ready to fund, number one, commercial properties. And also, for example, if a commercial property is going for £1 million, it means that if you are going by 25% deposit, it's going to be like 250,000. So it's just the scale, but there is no restriction in that aspect. But the other question is, if you're buying a commercial property, what do you want to use it for? Do you want to convert it to residential? It means that before you buy it, you need to make sure you can get a planning permit, because we do that as well, but before we go, to kind of make any offer, we first of all, we work behind the scene to see if we can get permit to convert it to residential. So these are the key things. And if you're converting to residential, it means that, there will be building completion certificate you might need from the council, which, takes a very long process. Then the other aspect is running a business when you're on work permit and all those stuff. Now, the first thing is, if you're married, your wife is your dependent, that restriction does not apply to your spouse. So the business could be registered in their name while you run the business. Just like the person I told you that is running a cleaning company, is married, the business is registered to the wife, and he's doing the cleaning business, just going. But as an individual, you are not married, there are some restrictions, around you running those kind of business. But things around Amazon Flex, there are no restriction there. So something, we can look together so that I show you the ones that are no restriction and the ones that have restriction.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask my question, sir?
Okay.
I have a question, sir. Okay. The first question is, how can we get to you for further information? That is one. Then number two, for instance, you you want to manage people's property for them, maybe in Airbnb, Booking.com, and the rest of it. Do you need any form of license? Do you need to register as a property agent, or you can just partner with people and do that? Maybe you don't, just for Airbnb, Booking.com, another booking platform, not for tenancy and the rest of it. Now, you need to be licensed. That's my question, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Airbnb is straightforward because I normally do that. You know, if I have a couple of rooms empty and I have time, I turn them to Airbnb. So you don't need any license, you know, to run an Airbnb business. However, you need to sign up with Airbnb.com. You know, you'll be subject to their own terms and conditions, and also for every sale, you know, they have their own percent to charge you and things like that. So that's all about Airbnb.
Where can we get to you, sir? Maybe after this
Okay.
program.
Yeah, I'm part of the church. So Pastor Godwin Waribako has my details, you know. So if you want to get to me, you can always get to me through him.
Yeah, so you will have notice that you have some questions online. Those a lot of hands are being raised up. There are some questions directed to you, which I hope you will be able to follow.
Okay. One says, how can a group of believers set up businesses without having issues in future? But this is a big one for our pastors to answer. But from experience, I would say set up a business with someone that has a business knowledge. Not because someone is a believer doesn't mean both of you will do well in business. I'm talking from experience. So, but you will see, you will do well, you know, if you set up business with someone that has the same business mindset.
I don't know. Can I ask my own question? I've raised my hands here.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. So you talked about drop shipping. So I just wanted to know, you mentioned about signing like an agreement with a company that produces the, you know, where you want to be buying from. During my previous kind of research, I also just want to confirm whether that is applicable, where one has to, you know, just set up a website which interfaces the users, that's the buyers, and then the seller. So you are sitting just in between. So you don't really need to have a contract or agreement with the producers. So what happens from what I learned was that you can now list the product, and then they will now buy, and it comes to you. Then you now send the payment, the request to the buyers, the producers of the product.